let's go over the 2024 tier list of coding AI. So we have our contenders here, and let's start out with something that wasn't that I was gonna put this in the B list. Now, how I look at this tier list is that A is really the best. If you have an S tier, there's two forms of S tier. One is where you need a PhD to actually leverage. Like the AI is almost too smart, and so it's too difficult for us low lifers to actually leverage it. And then there's the other form of S tier where we're all beholden to it and it's taken over the world. So thankfully we don't have any of the latter, but we do have a few of the previous. A means that it's actually not a waste of time. So in A, it means that it probably, if you know the subject, could actually still help you. B is kind of in that area where if you're not strong in the subject, so for example, me with front-end development, I'm not strong in the front-end development, can it help you move faster? But I do know software engineering really well. So can it help you move faster? And that way, C is kind of meh, like they answered some questions right, but it was pretty rough. And F is just kind of unusable for the most part. That's kind of, C and F are really unusable, honestly. Let's be honest. F is just for ones that weren't S tier. Russell, I'm not going to reveal any of my future thoughts here on this, so you'll just have to wait and see if that's true. You'll have to wait and see. All right, let's start out with ChatGPT. ChatGPT was probably, let's not start out with ChatGPT. Let's start out with Cody. I like Cody. Cody has a lot of things going for it. At the start of the year, Cody was the only one that allowed you to ask questions about your code and give you feedback on it. So it was the first one to be really in context in your IDE. So I was using Visual Studio Code for that, and it was the first to do that. Now, as of the winter games, some of the other ones have that as well, but it's going to land strongly in C. And the reason it lands strongly in C is there was a couple aspects. One, the inline suggestions weren't as good as some of the other ones. And then when you asked it questions, like if you asked for code smells, this one was notorious. It would give you 5 code smells, whether your code had code smells or not. It could be the perfect piece of code, and it would just hallucinate 5 things wrong with it. Literally just random stuff. So it's definitely improving, but it has a long ways to go with things like that. Also, it's getting some more competition. Copilot has added the ability to talk to it with the context of the files. So I do believe there's a little bit of competition there now in that space, but it was pretty good. And to be honest, I have hopes for it in the future. All right, let's talk about Code Whisperer. So we have Code Whisperer and we have Q. Q is going to be our first S tier AI. And I know a lot of you are wondering how I think Q is an S tier AI. It's actually perfect. Q absolutely perfectly responds with, that is against the terms of my service, or that is not something I can do, to every single question you ask, to every single thing that you ask. Q is effectively perfect. You can't improve it anymore. It does what it does, and it does it perfectly. That being said, if you're actually trying to leverage it to do anything other than get denied, it's absolutely garbage, and you cannot leverage it at all. So other than a joke, so perfect AI is a wraparound print line. That is effectively what we saw. We tried to do a bunch of stuff. The only thing that we ever got it to respond to was how to start an EC2 instance. That's the only thing that I got a sane response back. Everything else, it said, sorry, Dave, I can't help you. I literally said, can you help me print print to the console in Python, and it said, "Sorry, Dave, I can't help you." And I was like, okay. Now, Amazon AI knows how to create something that costs you more money. That's absolutely true. So we're putting this up in S because F is for a... Okay, so let's move on to Code Whisper. I'm putting Code Whisper in the C. I'm actually putting Code Whisper as the most improved of 2023. At the beginning of 2023, it was worse than Cody with its inline code recommendations. But by the end of 2023, it had probably improved the most and was actually, if there was a B or an in between here, I would want it to be that in between because it was almost breaching being as good as Copilot in some cases. So it was getting close. It definitely wasn't as good as Copilot in all cases, but it definitely was the most improved. It's been not skipping leg day all year. All right. So then let's move on to One Star Coder. One Star Coder is S tier. I don't know how to use it. I legitimately could not figure out how to use it, but I read the white paper. I read all of the specs on this thing. This thing might be taking over the world. And if you want it to write you a love sonnet while coding, I have found it very discouraging sometimes when coding and on hard problems, and you're stuck in this pit of trying to figure out this hard problem. If you have an AI that understands you deeply and is like, hey, instead of writing you some code, I could write you a joke. One Star Coder is there for you. I'm going to stop picking on it because I accidentally uploaded this twice. Look, we'll put it. No, okay. Can't remove that picture. Anyways, we have that too much. It was pretty bad. I literally hallucinated a love story that got a little too spicy for me to show again on Twitch or YouTube. That's our experience of it. So yeah, maybe if you have a PhD, you might be able to use One Star Coder and get code back out of it. But I struggled with it. All right, now we're getting into I have Amazon Q here twice too. Oh my gosh. We're actually down to the last two contestants. Now they're separate here, but everybody knows they're the exact same thing. They're the exact same thing in the back end. We're just going to throw both of those up there. We have Copilot and ChatGPT. I didn't put any in A. And the fact of the matter is they are also greatly improved over the year. At the beginning of the year, we saw them responding with just really large functions that tried to do everything in that large function. And now at the end of the year, both of these have taken it a step further. And I say both, they're kind of the same. Maybe we need to make an icon combining the two. We've seen where they take it and they're actually breaking it into functions that make more sense and things like that. Now, the reason they're not A, let's talk about the reason there is no AI right now. Not one of these did I find, if I knew the subject, if I actually understood the subject, was I faster leveraging. Literally, I couldn't find a case where I was faster actually leveraging these AIs. The other issue is that they're still only right about 20% of the time. The other times they're very wrong. And the problem with them being wrong is they're sneaky wrong. If it was easy to see that they were wrong, that would be one thing. But when they're wrong, they look correct. And to be honest, there's probably the acceptance rate is probably actually lower on these. I say 20%, but it's actually probably like 10% of the time that they suggest something that's actually something I accept. There's probably another 10 to 15% where it's something I accept to then tweak because I see that it's wrong. It has a few problems with it, but it's faster to accept it and correct it than to type the whole thing. Or at least that's what I think. I didn't find any of these now, in this B tier, I actually do find Copilot and ChatGPT in languages I don't know and in things that I don't know to actually be helpful, because it's like a really fast Google search. You want to print in Python. You don't have to jump around. You can say, you know, how do I print a new line in Python? And it's actually probably faster. But again, that's in something I'm not well versed in. So yeah. And then there's suggestions. I'm an experienced developer. One other thing that I would have to say here, one other thing I think is, if you're a new coder, I hesitate to tell you to learn with these things. A lot of people say, oh, this is a fantastic way to learn. You can learn by typing here. But the problem with learning from something that will lie to you, I think, is possibly not good. I think it could work for some people. Some people are going to challenge that authority and think they're right anyways. And those people, I think it's going to be just fine for. But people who are going to sit here and, accept it for what it's saying, I think it could cause them more problems than it's actually worth. So I would be hesitant to say use these to learn. You can use them as a resource while learning, but I would be hesitant. Sometimes the code that they generate is also of low quality. A lot of the time, it might do the job, but it's not going to do it in such a way. One of the classic examples that this is something Copilot and ChatGPT did was, instead of, they would accumulate so they would accumulate the answer instead of finding the max, the highest value. They did this for every single time when I was trying to get the max of something, they would actually accumulate the answer. And it's those type of things that are maybe a little more tricky to see and understand than other things. Let's look at what the chat is saying. Sorry, that was I'm gonna clip that for my Null Bytes YouTube. So I was kind of ignoring chat a little bit, but what is 1 star? Okay, so 1 star is actually Star Coder. Star Coder. Star Coder is the only one that hallucinated a love sonnet when I asked it to program something. This is the only one that did that badly. It did really, really badly. And I'm not sitting here making fun of the people that worked on it. They're smarter than I am. They have done fantastic work. I like Hugging Face, which hurts me. I think Hugging Face does a really, really awesome job. The AI hurt me though. Mentally, not physically. It was rough to use. Copilot is more convenient than ChatGPT. Copilot is more convenient than ChatGPT. Absolutely. So, if you were doing this, if you were going to pay for one of these, Copilot is actually cheaper for an individual than ChatGPT is. The other thing is, Copilot is, because you can get ChatGPT to, this is actually really awesome. What is it called? Visual Studio Code. Okay. In here, not only can you get it to give you inline recommendations, let's say, this is a ChatGPT inline recommendation. Not only can you get that, but you can chat with it here, and you can say stuff like, what's wrong with this code? And this is actually going to ask it about this block of code here, which is actually pretty cool. Because you could also be like, is there a better way to do this? Am I missing something here? It's not very good at this type of questions, but it is cool. And it's a really powerful summary. That's what somebody was saying. Also, I'm going to say your name and I'm going to destroy your name. And I'm sorry about that. No More Heroes Paradise. I actually... capitalization never killed anybody. No More Hero Paradise. It's more elaborate summarizer and formatter that you have to double check. That's exactly correct. That is exactly correct. I find it amazing for parsing Azure and AWS documentation. That is correct. That is correct. Yep. So that's my my 2023 tier list. We're gonna post this on Twitter. All right. Cool. Get out of Visual Studio. All right. Let's move forward. If you guys were on YouTube watching this after it, thanks for watching, and see you later.